Duke basketball, we rebound 70-54 win over Pittsburgh. I think the final score is a little misleading. That was a lot closer game than I think a lot of us would have liked it to be. I know our score predictions were a lot more lopsided than this final score, but obviously part of that we didn't have Big Pat. We had a lot of different lineups, a lot of lineups that we quite frankly haven't seen. What'd you think of the different lineups tonight here, JD?
Um, Coach Shire didn't have much choice other than to juggle the lineups a bit. But I think my favorite one was as a result of Harris being on the court and there being no defensive liability while he was on the court, earned him minutes. And he came up with a nice three, a nice two. It was nice to see Harris have minutes here. Everybody contributed a little bit here, with one exception, and that was Nick. And almost baffling at this point.
Okay. Let's save Nick. So we're gonna talk about Nick. I just want to spend a few minutes here on the positives because I think through 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that, would have come on here and been like, yeah, Duke won the game by 10 points was what we were looking at, and would have been really down on where the team was. I thought, though, the last 15 minutes, Isaiah Evans and Caleb Foster really stepped up and finished this game really, really strongly, and that gives me hope moving forward. I thought Evans, they were talking about on the broadcast, Coach Shire wants him to work on his shot selection. I know a lot of us wanted him to work on his shot selection. They said, Kevin Brown said, his open shots, he's hitting a similar percentage to last year, but his contested shots, he's in the 20s. And that kind of adds up with what we've been seeing. I thought there was one shot in the first half, which I thought he forced. Other than that, I thought he did a really good job of letting the opportunities come to him, hitting some nice catch-and-shoot opportunities. Then he had the nice sidestep off of a Caleb Foster drive. And then Foster had a really complete game. Defense, rebounding, driving the ball, hitting I think he had a couple of threes. We'll look at the stats in just a little bit. But, man, the way he finished the game was really good. And for this Duke team in particular, there's just not a lot of self-creation. And so the more Foster can create off the drive intelligently, being the best way I can explain this is being intelligently aggressive. There are times he'll get himself into trouble, but when he also is capable of going, because he's strong for a guard, and he
Well,
can
and he
go
had
up against the opposing bigs and still finish. And so just finding the right opportunity to do so. So I felt really good about Evans and Foster and how they closed the game here.
I totally agree. In the first half, he wasn't scoring as well. And I had that feeling why isn't this a game that he is just 15 points, a good stat line, which he did finish. He had a much better second half. And I think he had a pretty good size advantage over the guards. So this was a really good opportunity to look at the floor and say, I can take it to the basket. And he responded really well. And between him and Evans, it took a lot of pressure off of Boozer to be in there and scoring. And I mean, there was that stretch in the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, where they actually sat Cam for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like the midpoint of the first half.
Yeah.
And Cam did a good first half. He closed the game well, but he had a rough stretch there in the first 10, 12 minutes of the first half, or second half, excuse me, where he was turning the ball over. He ended up with 5 turnovers. Now, not all of them were his fault,
No.
but I think at least three were. At least three of the five were. The one certainly that wasn't was he made the pass to Nick, and Nick's lack of confidence right now from the 3-point line. He was open from three, but he cut because he didn't want to take a three. That's. I mean, I'm not in his mind, but that's what it looked like to me. Is that he didn't feel confident taking a three there, and so that led to a Cam turnover. And he got it. He gets himself in trouble when he turns his back, and he's like dribbling, pounding the ball, and the guy comes from the other side and pokes it away from him. That happened a couple of times, and that's been happening more as the year has gone on. So that's something I want to see corrected, and that is going to be it's going to be much more difficult. Certainly as we get deeper into the season, especially with the matchups that we have coming up, namely a Clemson team, which is a very good defensive team, as we all know.
I think we've shown time after time we play to the level of our opponent. And for 3/4 of the game tonight, we sure did, to have the game, they had that chance for a turnaround that would have put it at like 2, and instead we wound up by 8. They had, feel bad for Pitt. They had ample opportunities to make this a very close game. They were at one point 0 for 5 from the free throw line. They were trying their best to let us win. And, except for their 3-point shooting in the first half, which kept them in when they hit 6. So there is a lot to break down here because we needed Nick. And I've got to keep going there to say we needed Nick to show up, because if one of the big guys, I think I made this point in the pregame, if one of the big guys is out, little did we know that it would be Patrick Gamba out tonight, and that this was a great opportunity for Nick to shine.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
and he's our 4th biggest player. And so when we as you said, just as an option, as a bigger body to throw out on people. And boy, this was a rough outing for Nick. It just was. I'm sure he knows that. It's nothing that he doesn't know. He's gonna get opportunities because of his size on this Duke team, and more importantly, what he's shown us this year. But he is certainly in a rut right now. Whatever you want to call it, a freshman wall. I don't know what you would use as your terminology here, but he is not playing well. And we've seen him play really well. The Michigan State game, the Louisville game. He's had good minutes in other games. So we know he's capable. But tonight, we'll look at the stats. I don't think he actually had a turnover, but I think he caused 2 turnovers. Both times where he was like, there's a pass I thought that was going to Harris, and he kind of like he thought it was going to him. He tipped it, goes out of bounds, and then, ooh, bless me. And then
it was coming for a while.
I felt it.
You should have asked for a timeout.
Yeah. A good timeout. Subscribe to the channel. If you're out there, like this video. We'll get you guys in the chat in just a little bit. Yeah, that was coming. I was seeing if I could work my way through it. I couldn't. And then the other one, which was more obvious, was he sets the screen for Evans, and then Evans, backdoor cut. He's open, but then Nick cuts along with them. And it ends up as a I think Malik or maybe Evans gets credited for the turnover there. Speaking of Malik, he's not played well of late. He's not been the Malik Brown that we're accustomed to, and in a game where we don't have Pat, we need him to play smart defensively. And he's the guy he's picked up the bulk of our fouls in this game, and they were clear fouls and nothing to complain about there. So we just need him to be more aware of how valuable he is to us. To when he is beat, let it go, let the guy get the layup. Because especially without Patton, we won't know, I imagine, if he's going to play Saturday. Like, we won't, but especially when we do the preview on Thursday, we're not going to know. So in the event he's not out there, we really need Malik because Clemson plays 4 or 5 guys that are 6'8" or taller, and they're physical and they play inside out. So we're going to need Malik to be more judicious with his fouls than he was tonight, certainly. Who did we not talk about?
Look, I think the way that Evans finished, the way that Foster finished, not his greatest productivity, but still, a good game, but for his turnovers, for Cam, Caden, okay. Harris, okay. But then that leaves the big guys, our big guys, Malik, and we got to say our big guys and include Humenya in that. And so that just leaves one guy that we're missing from the rotation. I'm missing. Dame, who had good minutes at that, not quite the series that he put together for North Carolina, but had good minutes and was smart about on a couple of plays where he was ahead of the field. He didn't try to take the layup. So overall, he was fine. So it's just our big guys that we needed the most tonight. Didn't seem, Cam didn't have it, his usual. This could have been a game that Cam went for 30.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I mean, we kind of get this with Cam, though, where it's like when we need him most, he shows up. But in the games where, to your point, and a lot of people made this point, like we play to the level of our competition. And I think Cam at times has been some, in fairness, he has gone off for 30 points against some like mid-major teams. Don't get me wrong. But at times also, like we like to reference the Army game because we were there. He's just going through the motions. I don't think that was the case tonight. I thought he had a really solid first half. He didn't do too much. He let the game come to him. He had like 8 points, 4 rebounds. Everything was going well. And then the second half, it got clunky for a while there, and it feels like sometimes also he just has to do too much, and so getting more from Foster and Evans, and allowing Cam to kind of, it also at times, not to make an excuse for him, but he looked tired, like he was kind of laboring at times, going up and down.
Jack, it's interesting. To start the second half, Cam had a 3. And Harris had a 2, and that put us up 40-29. And it was another one of those moments where I thought we'd pull away. And then the very next play, it was the first of Cam's turnovers.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the stats. So Duke wins this one 70-54. Shooting 55% from the field, really good. 39% from 3. I mean, it feels like a long time since last time Duke shot over 32% from 3. So we'll take that.
That was great.
5 of 8 from the free throw line. Not ideal, but also not enough free throws to really get worked up over. Harris missing both. I know it was after the timeout there, but that was surprising. Cam at 17 and 10, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. Malik had 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, a couple of turnovers, and then a couple of steals. I thought he played better in the second half. I think the one thing we didn't mention, Coach Shire, he was laying down the law, starting Harris and Caden at the start of the second half. You're crunching over there. What are you eating?
I know. I apologize to our listeners. It's 11:30 on the East Coast, and the old man's having a couple of pistachio nuts here to stay up after watching the game.
All right, whatever you gotta do, get what you need, right? Where was I? Coach Shire laying down the law. So Malik Brown and Isaiah Evans don't come into the second half after starting the game until after 5 minutes into the second half.
Yep.
Clearly sending a message to both of them, quite frankly. Evans responded really well. 21 points, 8 of 10 shooting, 5 of 6 from 3. Foster, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists for Foster. Dame, only the 3 at the end, but he did have 7 boards. Big credit to him for that. A couple of steals and a block for Dame. Nick only played 13 minutes, and rightfully so. He's going to have to earn his way back to more minutes, but he's still got to play. Caden had 6 points. I thought he played well. 3 assists, 2 steals. Darren Harris, I thought, competed really nicely on defense today. He did, get
really nicely.
Caught on a couple screens, but I thought there's a really nice sequence in the first half where he competed with the Pitt big Cam Corrin, and it led to a missed shot by him, and then he ends up getting the 3 on the other side. Now, he did get caught on a screen or two there, which ended up being a 3 by Pitt, but overall a really nice effort from Darren Harris, and I think deserving of an opportunity for minutes. I think it's just been really tough for him to play 3 5-minute stretches, to get any kind of rhythm. It's just really hard. So tonight I think we saw a better, more aggressive Darren Harris attacking the rim, getting a couple layups, getting a layup, I should say, and getting to the free throw line even though he didn't make it. Anything stick out to you from the stats?
Yeah, there's 2 team stats that are obviously troubling. Feel really good about 3-point shooting tonight, and overall field goal percentage was 55%. So that was certainly a great stat. 16 assists, but that's assists to 13 turnovers. And the ratio you're always looking for is 2-1, and 16-13 wasn't great. And that came at the expense of this. Pitt had 11 steals to Duke's 6, which is kind of remarkable. And turnovers, Duke had 13 and Pitt had 9. So you kind of see how the flow of the game, that every time it looked like we were about to pull away until the very end of the game, we just didn't. And that's where these stats don't look great in a 16-point win in a game that puts us to 22-2.
22-2, 11-1 in conference play. It is really bizarre to say that a team that's 22-2, and we look at it and we say there's a lot of things that can be improved upon. It's a weird. I don't really have the right words for it, but it's a weird dichotomy, I guess.
Well, it is because they've left us at the 4, number 4 in the AP poll. They still have us as a number 1 seed, and we've how to make the point. Last year we're a number 1 seed. Yes, absolutely, totally solid team. This year, 1 seed, maybe. We'll see how we finish over the next couple of games in the ACC tourney. But a 1 seed, and we're 22-2, and it's the most fragile 22-2 is the way that I put it. There's just so many things. So, and this is 24 games into the season. There's not a lot of regular season games left.
Yeah, it's man. There's not, especially with the schedule coming up. There's not time for like development either. You know, guys, Shire's got to be cutthroat, like with the rotations. Like if Nick's not playing well, but it's a tricky one because Cam, when he gets tired, that's when the turnovers creep in and the defense gets worse. So it's like, how do you manage that? All right, quickly medals before we head to the chat. So
Okay.
gold for me in this one, Caleb Foster. I thought he just had a really nice complete game. Scoring,
Absolutely.
rebounding, assisting. Isaiah Evans, silver. Shot the ball really well, responded well to being challenged by Shire there. And then the bronze, Cam. Despite the turnovers, he what did he finish with, 17 and 10, something like that. He still did his
Some
thing.
modest stats.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Moore 007. Oh, wait. Is that everything? Yeah. Moore 007. Man, Foster played great. And finally, it felt like we got the old Evans back. Hope they keep it rolling. We'll need it versus Clemson. But on a night when North Carolina lost and we won, I'll sleep good tonight. Yeah.
And it was fun to watch in the North Carolina game that they were trying to hit threes and they just kept clunking off the rim.
That was fun. I mean, as long as we're on the topic, I mean, I'm sure a few of you guys watched that game. I mean, how amazing was it? 15 seconds into the game, North Carolina got called for a foul. I was like, this is nice. Vasar actually got called for 4 fouls. Would you believe it? A guy who averages 3 fouls a game actually got called for fouls. But I'm supposed to move on. I just can't. I don't know.
Well, it's okay. And let's just say one of our favorites, Jay Lucas, gets a really big win.
Yeah.
Look on track for being in the tournament in just 2 years.
What?
This is his first year.
I know he left like and the season
Right.
wasn't over, but yeah, this is his first year. Corey Miller, sloppy at times, but well-balanced scoring in the win. We had 3 guys, who had really good nights tonight. But yeah, certainly sloppy at times. 13 turnovers. AJ1, man, if we don't play better than this on Saturday, Clemson will put belt to BTA, is what I will abbreviate that to. Clemson will not let us off the hook. Big Pat has to play for us to be competitive. Brown gives us nothing on offense. With Brown out there, it's 4 against 5, and he will foul out again.
Well, that's the thing. I all 4 comments so far, we talked about not coming on and wanting to, how do we be upbeat? But all 4 comments are exactly what we're thinking. So, our listeners are spot on in their analysis of what we all watched. And the only thing about Brown is that if he's not scoring, it's his defense, which is so elite, but not if he's going to commit 4 fouls and can't play defense.
And I think that's also why, to AJ's point, Duke was running the offense early through Brown, because otherwise they kind of help off of him. But I don't know. I don't know if I love that. I would like to see more, if we're going to do that, Malik screening. So do pick and roll with Malik as the roller. Have Malik set off-ball screens for Isaiah. I just felt like our offense, when we were just, it was just very predictable. Okay, Malik's at the top of the key. He's going to look for somebody to cut. It became very easy for Pitt to defend, and against better teams, it's just too repeatable. So I'm with you, AJ. We need, if Malik's going to be out there, we need to be more versatile offensively. It just can't be, okay, we're going to use Malik as the hub because otherwise, he's a great passer, but it's got to be worked in rather than the feature of the offense. Laura, the Duke curse, as I call it, is alive and well. It is when a team beats Duke, they would usually lose the next game or real soon. This is what happened with North Carolina tonight at Miami. Also, Miami showed what a court storming should look like. Yeah, they had the security out. No bottles were thrown, as far as I could tell. They weren't mobbing the North Carolina players. It was a much, as you said, Laura, much more. But they did.
Look,
And one more point, they should have stormed the court. They beat a top 15 team. They're unranked at home. That's what you should do.
but let's take Laura's point. If any of you got to watch the Kansas Arizona game last night, where Kansas plays without Darren Peterson and beats Arizona in a really hard-fought game, the Kansas fan base is rabid. I mean, it is up there in the top 3 places you want to play is Fog Allen Fieldhouse. And what happened after they upset him without their star player? Nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't even storm the court.
Yeah.
They were cheering as loud as could be. And during the course of the game, their coach, Bill Self, when he was interviewed after the game, said, we played okay. The reason we won were our fans.
Yeah.
And they gave a textbook class in how, your fan base should, screaming so loud. It is impossible to hear yourself in Fog Allen Fieldhouse. So that was great. I mean, just see in contradiction to North Carolina.
North City Flip. This game shows how your stats proved facts about Big Pat being in the game. Yeah, we miss Big Pat, and we don't. As much as I love Malik, there is a big difference in how we play with Pat and without Pat, and we're gonna need Pat to get healthy, and we're gonna. It's even hard for me to say this. But we're gonna need him to do better with foul trouble, because I didn't think a lot of that was necessarily his fault, but he's we need him on the court for as much as for his defense, also his offense. GMAT, ugly game, a few positives from a few players, but a lot of sloppiness, and it highlighted the issues we saw with North Carolina when we lose pieces of the front court. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Laura, Jeff Capel will still be at Pitt next season because he is too big of a buyout for Pitt to pay out. It's a good fact. It's a good fact. I mean,
I think he also has if I caught that correctly, he also has a pretty good recruiting class coming in.
I have to look
so the combination of the two, if I'm right, which is 50-50, combination of the two could be, absolutely in his favor.
He does have 3 4-star recruits already lined up. That guy, Salipa, Roman Salipa, he's a player. I know he doesn't shoot like that.
Australian?
Yeah. He doesn't shoot like that most of the time, and he can't hit free throws, but he can hit the 3. He can drive. He gets offensive rebounds as a freshman.
I think he finished with 21.
Yeah, that guy can play. If they keep okay, Laura, I can start to see it being a bounce back year for them. Blue Devil 89, great game from C. Faust, almost a double-double. Happy to see Slim come out of his shooting slump as well. Laura says, honestly, I believe this team gets bored playing against the bottom of the ACC. There is definitely some of that with this team. GMAT, not terribly impressive for Foster and Evans to finally have decent showings against a team this bad, though, either. I don't know that Cam's turnovers were a huge individual issue. We had a lot of misconnections turn into turnovers, probably because our lineups were disrupted with Pat out. Evans moved when Sarr was passing to him, and Sarr passed it right to a Pitt player too. Yeah, so on the turnovers part, I do agree that was part of it, but also some of Cam's turnovers were things that we've seen in previous games when we had a more regular rotation. So I think both things can be true there. With Foster and Evans, I get where you're coming from, but I think in terms of confidence, they both really needed this. So hopefully they can carry it into the Clemson game. AJ. Nick at this time is almost unplayable. He plays hot potato with the ball, wants no part of it, and is quick shooting, not taking his time with the shot. No confidence at all. Yeah. It's I mean, he has to play. I think he has to play because of, especially if Pat's not available. If Pat is available, I think you could give Darren his 8 to 10 minutes. But if
you could hide, it's easier to hide him.
Yeah.
He is playing right now like a guy, you say no confidence, but it's a guy that's on the team, but honestly doesn't feel part of the team.
I get that. And it's weird because the Louisville game, it felt like he really found, he hit the corner threes. It seemed like he found, something there. And then since then, I know he played well in the Virginia Tech game, but he wasn't part of the offense. And maybe that's where some of this is coming from, because it's like I did think tonight, though, the corner threes he got were good looks.
But he missed horribly,
Yeah,
Jack.
No. The reason I'm saying that is I didn't feel like the North Carolina game, he comes in, he shoots the three immediately, which was a bad shot.
Your point is that they were shots that he should have taken.
Yeah.
He just couldn't execute.
And then he doesn't execute, and then it's like he doesn't want to shoot anymore, because that's what leads to one of Cam's turnovers. He's open from three, but he cuts because he doesn't want to shoot it. So they got to figure out how to get him right. And fortunately, there's still time. And I know, we don't want to lose any more games, but at the same time, if losing a game means we get a better Nick Kamenia for the tournament, I would take that. But I don't know what the answer is to get him going. Because we talked about it. He's had some really good moments.
The only thing, Jack, is given the remaining games, maybe the NC State game is the easiest of the ones we have left.
Syracuse as well.
Oh, we do play. Okay. All right. So Syracuse, but also, I guess we get a bye in the ACC tournament as long as we still finish with a good, as good a record, tied or in first place, resulting in probably our first matchup not being one of the top tier teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so Syracuse,
Notre Dame, maybe just looked as, they're not the best, but when they have Marcus Burton, they're a much better team.
All right. So so we've talked ourselves into, there are opportunities where we can try to get him feeling like he's part of this team and get him going. There are. So we're not giving up on him. Laura taught us way too early this season about giving up on players like Foster, and we were completely wrong on that.
Yeah. All right, let me read off a few more here. GMAD, it feels like we're going backwards. back to where we have no consistency. Everybody except Nick had positive moments, but everybody also had sloppy mistakes. We've lost the consistency we seem to have found during that run of games, starting with California. We've been going like this. We were rising. We were rising, and then we had that 10 days off, before Lipscomb. It's, there's, BCE, and there's before Lipscomb for this Duke team. We have the Lipscomb game, then Texas Tech, and then we had that 6-game run. We go to California. We have a few really good games after that. And then starting really with, I didn't think our offense was good against Virginia Tech. BC game was not good. And then obviously North Carolina game. Well, I mean, I don't know. That one, it's more muddy. But this game wasn't good either, despite the win.
Nope.
Wes and Susan, tell me why Evans couldn't do that Saturday night. UNC wouldn't have had a chance to win that game. Yeah, more difficult opponent, certainly, but hopefully this is going to springboard him.
But to the point is that if he could get in the face of one of the 3-point shooters, even in that final stretch where it's not likely he would have been playing, but if you could have gotten that kind of defensive side out of him, would have been helpful.
AJ says we might have to dust off Cameron Sheffield. That's desperation, though, if Big Pat doesn't play. Jeremy Farrell, Duke played good, but they need to be careful with those turnovers because turnovers make points for the other team. Agreed.
Sure.
Joe M, shout out to Jay Lucas. Let me see. I'm trying to pick out some new ones here. Michael Bakhtiar. What was Nick doing? I counted 3 times. He was so in the wrong position. He was, to your point, I think it's a very good point. It's like he was not in sync with his teammates at all throughout this game. It's like there was 4 guys moving one way and he was moving the other way. It felt like at times he was playing for Pitt.
I don't think it was quite that bad, but he just wasn't part of the team chemistry. Leave it at that.
The only reason I say that is there was 3 times, Joe pointed out another time, where there was a pass to someone else on Duke, and he got in the way. Yeah, I don't know. GMAD, the final margin of 16 points covers a multitude of sloppiness throughout the game. Yeah, as you like to say, JD, if you just saw the box score, you'd say, Duke won by 16. They did, what they're supposed to do. But watching the game, as we all did, that was not the case. Joe M. Foster shows great leadership when the team is under a dry spell and when we were desperate for a bucket. His hard work by getting to the rim shows the rest of the team how it should be done. Yeah. And GMAD echoing that point. Good to see Foster and Evans step up when we were down a key player in Pat. Laura says Shire said he was going to start playing Nick and Darren more than he has. The more they play, it would help them get better. Certainly Darren. Nick's got to figure out mentally, where he's at. GMAD. Shire finally found a consistent lineup, but it feels like a very fragile margin. Take away one component, in this case, Pat, and we're right back to scrambling to find another answer.
Yep.
I do like without Pat, I want to see more of probably Caleb because of how he played. And then give me Darren, Isaiah, and Sar. Spread them out along with Cam at the 5. I know our defense isn't as good, but I think maybe offensively we can maybe get a little bit more flow and a little more spacing with that lineup. Bot City, Boozer's worst game. He has not been locked in since January. Well, how many games have we played now in February? Is that our third game?
I mean, he still outscored Caleb Wilson in the UNC game with a really good, he wasn't great in the beginning, but then really came on and kept us in that game. So I'm not ready to quite say that he's not been himself, but against lesser opponents, boy, something just doesn't motivate him.
Yeah, I mean, he did outscore Wilson, but he did it on a lot more shots. He wasn't efficient, but there was some other reasons for that. We got to get him going again because the thing to me that's been he's been turning the ball over more of late. That's been the more notable thing to me. Lawrence Freeman, Saturday. Shout out to Lawrence. Saturday will be tough without Pat. Yeah, it's going to be a really tough game to win without Pat against that physical Clemson team. So I'm hopeful he can play, but I don't like the fact that he's had his right hand taped up most of the year. Now it's his left wrist. Like that is not. It doesn't give me a lot of optimism. I'll leave it at that.
But it also doesn't give you a lot of options as to which hand to give him to.
True. Let's see. GMAD. Sarr had become a huge resource with his offensive improvement. I feel like we didn't recognize that enough because of the reffing and loss versus North Carolina. Yeah, Sarr had a really good offensive game. And I mean, if he doesn't have his toe on the line a couple of times there, it could be a different outcome to that game. That's how, the margins were so small there. And there was a lot of things that went, whatever. But Sarr, I do feel like, I think he is processing the game better. I think he's making better decisions offensively. And I do like that from Dame. I think he just understands his role a little bit clearer now.
But I thought he did better offensively, but it was really only that he had 3 points, that one 3-pointer with about, less than 8 to go.
Bot City says, I fear that we reached our peak after the Michigan State game. Barely reached 70 points the last 2 weeks, and we are 8 weeks away from the championship game. Not looking, I'm going to assume good, guys, is the word missing there. We had that. I would understand where you're coming from just in terms of the opponent, but we did beat Louisville twice. I don't think Louisville is as good as Michigan State, but especially the way we beat Louisville at home was really impressive. But offensively of late, we have been how do I want to describe the offense of late? It has been without rhythm. It has been stagnant at times, and it's for this team to get to a national championship game. I know we're on KenPom, we're a top 10 offense, but we haven't looked like it of late, and so we got to figure out that side of the ball more than anything.
We do, and yet I'm going to look at it optimistically. Pitt had 29 points in the first half, had 21 points in the second half. Now, I know Pitt's not a great team, but they had 25 points in the second half. I was looking at my other notes. They had 25. So they finished with 54 points. I think we have to accept that we're not going to blow people out of the water offensively. That if our defense continues to be at the elite level it is, and we can hold and rest, pretty comfortably between that 55-65 spread when we're on our game, it means we've got to get culled together 70 points.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's now we can take into account everything that's been said, which is if Cam gets us 20 on a consistent basis, where are the other 50 points going to come every night? And it should be that Evans could get us 15 to 20 of that, in which case then you're only looking for 30 to 35 points out of the rest of the team.
I want
And that could
Foster to be more aggressive.
aggressive, totally.
Intelligently aggressive, though. GMAT, Sar kept some of that offense up tonight, and if he can give us a couple of threes now and again, that will be huge going forward. Just keep doing his thing, shooting the corner threes. Leave the above the break threes alone, and just keep shooting those corner ones.
Doesn't he look at the same statistics we look at?
They have them. I know they have them. I know also, though, a couple of times it's like he's been forced to take it, like late shot clock, or
Okay.
I think some of that is also what's going on there. But also, what we don't know, maybe in practice he hits a lot of those shots, and it's just not translating for whatever reason. RW Forsh, I love CFOS, and I'll take that from Slim. I agree we need more from Nick. How are we feeling about Clemson without Big Pat? Not great. Not great. Clemson with Big Pat is going to be a tough game. The last two times we've played Clemson have come down to last possession.
So I'm gonna take the glasses half full. We're at home. We know that Big Pat may or may not be able to play. Let's already get into the headspace that he isn't, so that the team could be prepared for that. And I think that we play to the level of our opponent. And yes, that's with Big Pat, but it may not be there. So just like watching Kansas versus Arizona last night, and I said, Peterson's not going to play again. And they have figured out how to play without him.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because that leads us to our next couple of comments here. Laura saying, rather test out games like this to see what works instead of big games. I agree. I like that Shire was experimenting. And GMAT saying, I think without Pat, we're just left scrambling for an answer we don't have. This team doesn't have a plan B after the three front court players. I agree. And I think to both of those points, the one going back to the lineup I was talking about before, Cam, 3 wings, and a guard, or it's two point guards, Caden and Caleb, and 2 wings. But I want to see more of that instead of Cam and Malik for so many minutes and trying to play faster. Because I think at this point we can't do the same things like as if we had Pat. We've got to have similar to Kansas. It's got to be a different identity. Kansas has found this identity of we are playing great defense. Melvin Council is going to just keep driving. We're going to get the ball to Badunga, and we're going to find ways to win games. They get some stuff from Trey White, get some stuff from Bryson Tiller. I think Duke can take some of what Kansas has been doing and replicate it, and then when Pat comes back, they're an even better team. But
sign me up for that.
But we have to have patience, because Kansas, it took them a while to figure out how everyone was going to play without Peterson. And they weren't playing like they are now without him a couple of months ago. It took time for them to figure it out. To that point, GMAD says Kansas beating Arizona certainly makes Duke's victory over them look a lot better. Sure does. UNC storming the court just shows their lack of confidence. A top 20 team confident in its season resume doesn't act like North Carolina did after the Duke game. I agree. The way they act, I said it. I said what I needed to say in the post game, and I stand by it. They acted like a mid-major team or a low, conference level team. It was just weird to me. Also from GMAD, Nick is still a freshman and his playtime was disrupted by injuries. I'd like to see him focus on settling back into defense and the hustle he has shown this year to see if that settles his offense. Great point, GMAD. We haven't seen that same level of hustle from Nick of late. It's a very good point. It's a good call out. That's where he's got to. That will help him figure out the offense. It's a very good point. RW Forsh. Kansas almost seems better without Peterson. Are all these missed games going to hurt his draft stock? Honestly, I take Wagler over him at this point. On the draft side of things, it's interesting because I watched him play in high school. That was he was unbelievable in high school. But he hasn't seemed like the same guy in college, and definitely we can attribute a bunch of that to him being in and out of the lineup due to injury. But I'm with you. I think Kansas has played better without Pearson. I think when they've been at their worst is when Pearson has played 20 to 25 minutes. When he's played the full game, they've been very good with him. When he hasn't played, they've been very good. But the in-between is where they've really struggled. And so I think, like, man, but to your point on the draft stock, I think teams are going to really weight his high school performance highly. And so I think they'll still take him over Wagler. But, man, Wagler going from outside the top 150 to a likely top 10 recruit is an incredible story in college basketball. All right, we'll circle back to Duke side of things. Thanks to Laura here. Games left are Clemson, Syracuse, Michigan, Notre Dame, Virginia, NC State, and North Carolina. A tough slate of games to finish the season. Clemson, Michigan, Virginia, NC State's not ranked. North Carolina, so was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 4 of the 7 against ranked opponents. And you never know. NC State gets hot. They could sneak into the back end of the top 25 by the time that game happens. But, boy, Michael Joyner saying Carolina got embarrassed. So did NC State. They lost by like 35 points, and Mikel Brown Jr. had 45 on them. It was like him and Ryan Conwell, first pair of teammates in a number of years to both score 30 points in an ACC game. They crushed NC State. AJ1, I really hope that the training staff is on point with post-game recovery. Boozer and Brown appear to almost have dead legs, leading to mistakes. Illnesses may be contributing via prior weeks. That's a good point, AJ, because I'm sure, Foster and Dame were sick, for the Virginia Tech game. Who knows who else was sick? So I wonder if that's some of what's going on now, and maybe they'll start playing better. Joe M., hoping that Harris has an end-of-season breakout like Grayson Allen did his freshman year. Harris could be the offensive spark we need with more minutes. Yeah, that was something I was hoping for earlier. Not going to lie, kind of gave up on that midway through the season. But after tonight, I am with you, Joe. Maybe the hope's still alive. AJ says Boozer is carrying a big load. He's battling bigs, and he will get worn down. Yeah, I think it's tough for Boozer to play as many minutes as he has. I think that's some of what's contributing to his decision-making here.
Well, this is a Saturday-Tuesday turnaround, and the Saturday game was,
and
tremendous burden on him.
He had to play 38 minutes because of the foul trouble to Duke's bigs. So it's not like they couldn't get him a rest in that one, and now without Gangbo is a little bit more difficult in this one.
Well, and tonight was also 38 minutes.
That's crazy. But, some of it is because of this game was close for most of the game. Joe M., Clemson team has like 4 6'10 guys too. They sure do. GMAD, the offense has been anemic. I was thinking about using that word, GMAD, but I held myself back because I think it's been slightly better than anemic. But I don't blame you. Laura says, offense has been lackluster. That's a better word. At times, defense wins championships. Yep. Um, Joe M. Thank you, Joe. There's an interview of Shire where he said imaging on Pat's wrist looks good. Said that it's mostly soreness and they're trying to get him healthy. So hopefully this was more of a precautionary thing. Doesn't necessarily give me a lot of confidence that he'll be ready for Clemson, but it does say to me he'll be fine this year, which is most important.
If the imaging looked clean and the Duke trainer Jose can work on him, Jack, I think the likelihood would be he'd play 20 minutes. It's like he'll want to play. They'll want to use him, but they'll use him, not as much as, well, Big Pat usually only plays, 25 minutes?
Somewhere in there.
He'll have both. He'll have this wrist taped, these fingers taped. So he'll be out there.
Yeah. All right, a few more before we get out of here. We really appreciate all you guys, as always, staying on late here with us. Corey Miller Foster should be giving us around 10 a game. Sarr has been underwhelming besides his defense. I'm assuming that, I don't know, Corey, but I'm assuming that comment is based off of preseason expectations, which is understandable. I think there was hope that he could be more than what he has been, but his defense has been really good, and I do think he's found a role in the past month or so offensively.
Well, role defensively, and therefore whatever we get out of him offensively is fine.
Joe M., having DH getting minutes lets us play faster, I think. It was looking like that tonight. He helped spread the floor. He was aggressive driving the ball. That was really nice to see. So I want to, even playing against Clemson, I want to give him, I don't want to see him get the 2-3 minutes and then yank him. Give him a real opportunity to get into the game. Give him 5 minutes and then see what happens after that. GMAT. The concern I have is it took Shire half the season to find the formula we had working, and we don't have half a season left to find another. It's a very good point. It is a very good point. AJ, just pondering, is there a world where Big Pat, Evans, and Sarr come back next year? I personally think neither of them are NBA ready. I do think there's a world. They're all, from what I'm looking at in terms of mock drafts and kind of where I have them on my personal board, it's like somewhere between 20 and 40, which is a range where, especially at Duke, there's a decent chance you're going to make more money at Duke. And if you're going to go in the second round, it probably makes more sense to come back. So I do think there is a world where they all come back. I would put it in terms of most likely at this point. I think Evans has his eyes set on the NBA. He entered last year, came back. I think Pat is probably the least likely because he's a big. But I think they're all similar boats. There's no locks, besides Cam, of course, to be leaving after this year in terms of early eligibility. So it's and I think, quite frankly, for all three of them, a lot depends on how this season closes, because we've seen lots of times where how guys finish the season, going into March greatly impacts their draft stock. So I think that'll have a big impact here. And I think that also goes into, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jordan Smith looks like he's going to go to Arkansas. Crystal ball heading that way. So I wonder if he's seeing maybe some of these guys coming back. Not as clear path for him, even though he's the number 2 recruit for playing time.
I hate to lose him to Calipari.
Yes, I am with you there, but at least it's not a conference rival. so I will take that. Well, we have different views on Calipari. I'm more pro Calipari than you are, but we'll leave it there. We're very late here. And our final comment from GMAD, not surprising, Cam is looking tired. He's playing so many minutes, focus of all the offense, and Shire's exhorting him to ratchet up the defense. I think that's a good closing note. He just has to do so much for this Duke team. He is carrying a big burden.
And he, in the interview after the North Carolina game, said, I have to do more.
Yep.
And I'm like going, like, it's not just the burden that's being placed on him by the team, the coach, it's what he's putting on himself.
Yeah. And all right, one bonus one from AJ. If they all come back, we will be a beast next year with the incoming class, with also Foster. Yes, we will. And that will be fun to look ahead to at some point, hopefully in April, if this team goes as far as we all hope they do. So we appreciate everybody sticking around with us. We'll have the preview for the Clemson game up on Thursday, and we'll see you guys post game as usual after that one. Until then, guys, peace.